Hey guys, welcome back. So today we will learn about nested navigation with bottom bar. In the previous video we covered the nested navigation without a bottom bar, but today we will cover how we can use nested navigation with bottom bar, because for bottom bar we need separate nav host. So we will also cover the point how we can use multiple nav hosts. So that is the central topic for this tutorial. So let's continue with that. This is the tutorial from the previous video. If I run it, so you can see we have simple nested navigation here. If you want to learn about simple navigation, you can check out my previous videos, two videos. Those are based on navigation basics, and then nested navigation. And today we will cover it with bottom bar. So let's say we'll continue with this. So it's username, then it's password, then submit to, and go to home screen. This is home screen, right? Go back. This is just simple navigation here, right? So how we can do that? So basic idea is we need to use multiple nav hosts. Why we need to use multiple nav hosts? Because one nav controller can be associated with only single nav host. Fine, it is clearly mentioned on the docs. So it is associated with single nav host. So single nav host can have only one nav controller. So if we need, let's say we are on the for this navigation, like from username to password to home screen, up to here we will be having a separate nav controller, and then on the bottom, for the bottom tabs, we will be having separate nav controller. Due to that, we need to use multiple nav hosts. So let's see how we can do that. So let's say from after, let's go back, after password, if from here we need to go to tab screen, let's say, so we will change this. So let's say or we can just keep it and simply change it to tabs. Fine, we can remove the arguments because we are not using any here. And so here we will not be using any composables, because it at tabs we'll be using another nav graph. For the bottom bar we will be needing another nav graph as well, right? So that nav graph basically include separate nav host. That's why we are naming it another nav graph, separate nav graph, right? So let's continue with that. This part we will be commenting as of now, because we can reuse it for the home screen in the bottom tabs. But here what we will do is, so because for bottom nav bars we will be needing a separate, so let's say separate nav host. That's why we are creating a function here, composable, that is tabs nav graph. Fine, because it's a separate nav graph, so it will be better if we create it as composable and name it something like tabs nav graph or tabs. Fine, and here we need to use NavController, that is separate NavController again, as we need to use, remember, NavController for making it aware of the state, keeping the state. And finally, let's say for using bottom bar we need to use scaffold here, and then inside scaffold, if go here, this is the bottom bar, right? Here we will be using our bottom bar. Fine, so, and let's say we will complete it later. Let's add it here. Yeah, fine, it's here. We can remove this as of now. Okay, cool. So, and let's say from here after submitting from, instead of going to home, we are going to tabs. Fine. And then here we need to use bottom bar. So for bottom bar, what we will be using is, we will be using a navigation bar here, because we are using material design 3, but for before material design 3 in the material 2, so we can use simply bottom bar there, but look and feel will be then different, but we will be using. So it will be basically assigned on some, let's say we need 2 tabs. For that we need to use some data class, is actually sealed class for storing that information. So let's say we name it screen, and it will be accepting root, and root will be of string type, and then let's say we will use string resource here, that is you can just name it id is of int type actually. Fine, because it will now we will pass here id, like r dot string dot whatever will be there, right? Fine. So, and inside that, because this is a class, these are class variables, so we need to define them. So let's say we need another objects here, like one for home, and home is extending again the screen. Fine, with the root as home, and r dot string dot, let's say we can say, instead of app name here, we can add home and profile. Fine, let's go back and home. Cool. Another one is profile, and that is also, we can take root name as in small letters, profile. Cool. And this, and for bottom tabs we will be needing a list as well for items, so we can create a list of here screen dot home, comma screen dot profile. Fine. So we can add, like how many tabs we want, we can add all those items here, like in the screen class, right? So here in the navigation bar we need to loop over that. This code you can easily find on the documentation as well, but let's cover that. Items dot for each, we need navigation bar item, so selected part we will be covering soon. Icon, so on click we'll be covering it later. So let's set some icon here. Content description null, icons dot default dot, let's say it's home. For that we need image vector. Fine. Let's reformat it. And for selected we will be applying the logic here. So from the nav controller we need to pick up the current destination, right? So for current destination we can use val backstack entry NavController dot current backstack entry as state, and then we can use the current destination here. Fine. It provides us the current backstack entry basically as state, because we can observe states here, mutable state here, we can collect that. So that is the same thing. If it will be updated, it will be updated and it will be changed. Fine. Dot. So we need to pick up destination here actually, and that will provide us current destination. Fine. So from this current destination, or even we can use it by here, then we don't need to use value here, because you can see if we use, then it is a state, its type is state, you can see. So from state we need to use value, and then from inside the value whatever we want to pick up, right? But if we use by delegation, it directly provides the value to us, right? We can directly use that without the value field, right? So current destination, and then let's say, so for selected, so what will happen is current destination dot in its hierarchy we need to match. And why we are using this hierarchy I will tell you. It can be null. So here we will check it like it dot root equal to, so let's give it as screen readability, we can analyze it as screen. So screen dot root. Fine. If why we have used the hierarchy here, so let's say current destination is home, right? Fine. But inside home, let's say we have nested navigation from the home, like in the Instagram page, if you see from the home screen we can go to user profile, and from profile again we can go to another profile. So that is nested navigation. So let's say if we are on the inside the nested navigation route, let's say from the home we are on the home tab is selected, and from the home we are on the some profile detail, and then we click on another tab. If we come back, right, if we come back on the home screen tab, it maintains the state, right? So how it will decide, like if we need to select the bottom tab, so because if we click on this, it will find that nested navigation on the front, right? So that's why it checks in all the routes, right? Current destination, all the routes. This is basically for if we have nested navigation, that's why we are checking in all the hierarchy. But if we don't have nested navigation, then we will only have there in the hierarchy we will only have one route, so that will automatically match. But hierarchy is for if we have nested navigation, it will cover that part. Fine. And so what we are going to let me just format it so that it will look better. Cool. And this is on click, and we need to give it a label as well. So for label, what we can do is, as a text, what we will do is screen dot, okay, class, that is not the class variable, I think we didn't made that. Yeah, we didn't made it as class variable. Fine. So now going back, screen dot resource, it will pick up that resource here. And how we use resource? Using string resource, fine, and passing the id. So what it will give us? Fine. What is this resource? It is a string resource, like id of the string resource. So how we use that string resource? Using the string resource method there. Fine, composable method. So now label is set, selected part is also set, and now we need on click. What we need to do? What we need to do on click? So we need to navigate here, right? So let's move it above this for some readability. Okay, cool. And now I think I picked up a bracket as well. Fine. So on click, what we are doing is NavController dot navigate, and where screen dot root. Fine. And now while we are navigating, what we need to do? We need to do a couple of things here. Like we need to pop off, like we need to pop up to this destination, so that it will clear all. Let's say we have multiple destinations, so it will clear the backstack here. So we will have to pop up to this for and saving the state. For saving the state, we need to use pop up to here. So we can directly use that NavController dot its graph, and then it's find start destination. So this is also here for save state is like, I will come to that. And then we need to restore state as well, otherwise this save state has no value if we don't use restore state. So what will happen is, if we click, let's say we have two tabs, if we click on home screen, so what will happen? It will pop up to, the start destination of the graph, to avoid building up a large stack of destinations. Fine. If you go to start destination, you will find the actual start destination of the graph. So let's say this route on which we are selecting this route, if it's a nav graph, let's say it's a nested navigation, then it will find that graph start destination. Again this is related to nested navigation. Fine. So if it's a nested navigation, then we have considered that part in both cases. So here as well and here as well, we are keeping that in mind if it can be a nested navigation graph. Fine. If we use pop up to here, so what it will do, we are saving the state, and it's finding the start destination of that nav graph, right? Because for the tabs on the tab screen, let's say we have multiple destinations on the home screen, we have some nested navigations like profile detail and some others. And let's say if we click on home tab, right, so it will pick up the home destination of that, right, and pop up to that. It will clear all the backstack. But if we use save state, so what it will do, it will save the state. So it will save the state, it means it will show us the same screen which was there before we were moving to the another screen. Fine. So and is restore, and for if we have saved the state, if we will be using the restore state, only then this part will work. They are interrelated, one of them will not be working without each other. Fine. So I will show you that how it's working actually. And here what we need to do, here we need to use NavHost, because for bottom navigation we need separate NavController. Fine. So its NavController is, we can pass that NavController. Cool. And we need to pass start destination, content padding parameter. Let's remove that warning first, otherwise it will show us let's use the inner padding here. Fine, we are using the correct NavHost. Fine. So inside the start destination, what for the, let's say in the tab we have home as our start destination. Why it's showing this warning? Maybe we have imported, yeah, we have imported different imports. You can see this one, there are two composable methods here, but with separate parameters. One is accepting the graph as second parameter, second one is the start destination. So we will be needing this one, right? It's again not importing. So let's, I think I have enabled the optimization of import. That's why maybe it's importing start destination. Again, it's not showing. Let's say why it's happening. It should use this. Yeah, now it's showing. So let's say NavController is, we will use same NavController for this. Same by same I mean like which we have defined inside this nav graph. You can see it here. So it's separate from the, it's a separate from the first NavController, because for each NavHost we need separate NavController. And let's say start destination for this is home. Fine, we have two tabs and home will be our start destination. Fine, and now it's showing that warning. Let's say just name it inner padding of scaffold. We need to use this, otherwise we may get some weird behavior in layouts. So let's apply that. And now let's say, so if we want nested navigation, what we will use? Navigation, and inside navigation we need start destination. So let's say on the home screen our start destination will be again home. Fine, or let's say, and inside this home we can have multiple composables, like for, we can reuse it from here. It will reduce our time. So we can see here start destination this, then for those we have routes and route, we have defined the route here, so we can copy paste it. It will reduce our development time. So let's pick it up. Fine, and now let's change it. So route is our home and start destination is, let's say on the home screen home, or we can say dashboard. Fine, we can name it dashboard. So and the on the dashboard, let's say we have dashboard here, or we can just give it home as of now. And let's say we have another composable, that is we can give it like profile detail, any name. We can have any other nested navigations there, like in the Instagram if we see, we can have profile detail here, so we can just give it profile detail name. Fine, and so here we will be not doing anything, or maybe we can go back from nested navigation. Fine, and if we click on that, what we need to do then, if we want to go back, what we need to do, we need to pop back stack. Fine, cool. So this home, inside the bottom bar tab home has two composable, two routes. It's a nested navigation. Fine. One is dashboard, that is, another is profile detail. On the dashboard we are just using the home content. Fine. So if we click on this, next, let's say we can name it, go to nested profile route, right? Profile detail, so it's underscore. Fine. And one is for home and another one is like simple composable. Here we will again copy this and paste that here. Inside two tabs, out of two tabs, one is home tab, another is profile tab. On the profile tab we don't have nested navigation, so that's why we are using composable here simply. Fine. Right. But inside home we have nested navigation, that's why we are using navigation composable here. So navigation is for nested navigation, this is for single route. Fine. And let's say now just give it name user profile, and if we navigate, if I think this part we can skip as of now. We don't, let's say we don't need to go anywhere from user profile. Fine. So now let's try to run it and see what's happening. Before the tabs we have the tabs nav graph. Let's try to run it. Now we can remove this, I think. Cool. We are username, password. Now on the home screen, if you see, so inside this, if let me revise the everything for you. So after the password, what we are doing after the password, so we are going to tabs and we are popping up to the login. So username and password, those screens will be popped up, they will be not in the backstack. If we go back here, it will clear. Fine. Because we have popped up to that, because we don't need username and password now. We have come to the home screen, right here on the home screen. And let's say if we have submit, so from the password screen, where we are going to the tabs route. So for the tabs route, what it will find, it will go to tabs nav graph, and inside tabs nav graph we have separate NavController, right? So and this part will be executed with bottom bar, and inside this we have two entries. One is for home, and home is again nested navigation, and this one is simple route. Fine. So if we click on profile, it is a simple profile and this is a nested navigation. So if it is nested navigation, let's say if we go to profile detail, right, and if we click on here and if we go back, it should show us profile detail. It's showing. Fine. And now let me show you what is the role of those save state and restore state, so that it will make things clear to you. Let's say if I comment out restore state, let's say now we will check that again. We are on icon is same. Let me change the icon first. Okay, we can change it later, because we can take this icon as also from this screen as a parameter like resource. We can make it dynamic. Now we will have to apply condition otherwise here, so maybe we can skip this. Now it will look weird. We can completely remove that part, but we can't find. Yeah, okay, cool. As of now, just assume we are using the same icon here. You can make it dynamic just like the resource, right? It's very easy, not that difficult. So we will come to that point, like if we have not restoring the state, so what will happen? let's say I am on the nested screen on the home. So if I go to profile and if I again come back to home, it's not showing us the nested profile detail. It's showing actually, let's check it again. So we are on the, yeah, you can see sometimes it picks up data from the memory cache. So let's say, yeah, I am on the home screen and from home I went to profile detail. If I click on profile, another tab, if I come back, what's happening? It's not maintaining that state profile detail. That's why this is used. If we use this, it will maintain, it will show us the previous state, and so that's why they are interrelated. If I comment out this, then this will not work, and similarly if I comment out this will not work. And similarly one more parameter is there, launch single top is equal to true, because why this is needed, let me come to that point as well. If I click on this again and again, let's say we have this as false, and we are not restoring the state, so what will happen then? So what will happen, I will show you here practically. So if I click it on again and again, right, so every time we are clicking on it, it's adding that as a separate route in the nav stack. So it's adding that repeatedly. If we click on back, you can see again same home, again same home, again. So now it's clear. So to avoiding this, because if we click on this same tab again, we don't want that to be added again. So that's why we are using launch single top. So if that route is already on the top, so it will not add that route in the backstack. So that's why we need this part. So guys, this is all about nested navigation with bottom bar. So if we want to use multiple nav hosts, how we can use them, we have covered that part here. So we need to use separate NavController for using the multiple nav hosts. That's the main part, that's the trickiest part. That's not actually in the examples or official documentation, that's not mentioned, so it's not easy for a newcomer to implement this thing, how we can do that. So I covered this thing as well. So I hope you guys now have an idea about how we can do how we can use multiple nav hosts, and how we can do nested navigation with bottom bar in Android. So this is the last part of our navigation series actually, but now we will be continuing with other topics on Jetpack Compose, like side effects and composition local, and all those things will be covered, and later on we will be creating a cool apps in Jetpack Compose. So stay tuned for that. Till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding, and also don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. Bye bye, keep coding.